the legend of Alexander Selkirk. Often hailed as the real-life Robinson Crusoe, Selkirk's tale began in 1704 aboard the ship St. George. It embarked on its voyage under the command of Captain Thomas Stradling. Their mission? To plunder Spanish vessels in the Pacific Ocean. However, as the ship made a stop at the remote Juan Fernandez Islands west of Chile, Selkirk became increasingly wary of the ship's condition and the dangers that lay ahead. It was then that Selkirk made a fateful decision to remain on the island rather than continue his voyage on what he thought was an unseaworthy ship. He basically said, screw that. Left ashore with only basic provisions, a musket, tools, a Bible, and some tobacco, Selkirk initially clung to the hope of an eventual rescue. However, as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, he realized that his choice of abandoning ship was a mistake, and he would have plenty of time to let that sink in. For 4 years and 4 months, Selkirk was put to the test as he forged a life for himself on the uninhabited island. He hunted goats, built crude shelters, navigating the rugged terrain with confidence. And despite occasional sightings of passing ships, including 2 Spanish vessels, Selkirk remained determined that rescue would come. In 1709, his patience was finally rewarded when an English privateer ship, captained by Woodes Rogers, stumbled upon his remote island home. Back on shore, Selkirk's remarkable tale captivated the world. Today, Alexander Selkirk Island stands as a tribute to his legacy, sitting just west of Robinson Crusoe Island in the Pacific Ocean. Juana Maria, known to history as the Lone Woman of San Nicolas Island, belonged to the Nicoleño tribe, Native Americans of the Channel Islands off the coast of California. In 1835, tragedy struck when Russian otter hunters invaded, resulting in the slaughter of most of the Nicoleño people. Following the massacre, missionaries intervened, relocating the remaining tribespeople to the San Gabriel mission in California. But Juana Maria was inadvertently left behind, isolated on the desolate island. For 18 long years, she lived out a solitary existence, living in a hut crafted from whale bones and surviving on dried sea blubber. In 1853, her solitude was interrupted when a hunter named George Nidever stumbled upon her remote home. His discovery of Juana Maria captured the attention of the public, and soon she was eventually brought to the Santa Barbara mission. Despite the challenges of adapting to a new environment, Juana Maria displayed a keen fascination with her surroundings. Later, Nidever took Juana Maria into his home, hoping to provide her with a sense of belonging and companionship, something she sorely needed after 18 years. Tragically, just 7 weeks after her rescue, Juana Maria contracted dysentery and passed away. Her name, Juana Maria, was bestowed upon her by missionaries. Her original Nicoleño name is lost to history. Born in Massachusetts in the early 18th century, Philip Ashton's life took a dramatic turn when he encountered pirates while on a fishing voyage off the coast of Nova Scotia in 1722. Captured by the notorious pirate Edward Lowe and his crew, Ashton endured months of brutality and servitude aboard their ship. However, fortune smiled upon him when during a storm, he saw an opportunity to escape, plunging into the waters and swimming safely to a deserted island in the Caribbean. Alone on the uninhabited shores of Roatan Island, Honduras, Ashton faced the challenge of survival with only the clothes on his back. Foraging for fruit to sustain himself, he lived a meager existence, desperate for rescue. And as fate would have it, Ashton's seemingly solitary existence was interrupted by an unexpected encounter with another castaway. The unnamed man, a fellow survivor of the cruel sea, became Ashton's companion for a mere 3 days. Because tragically, their new friendship was short-lived, as the man ventured out in search of food and never came back. But he did leave behind essential supplies, including gunpowder, knives, and tobacco. These things proved instrumental in Ashton's survival. Armed with his newfound resources, Ashton turned to hunting turtles for sustenance, cooking them over open fires with the tools left behind. His ingenuity sustained him until his eventual rescue by a passing ship, the Diamond from New England. He was taken back to civilization after 16 long months of isolation. In November 2012, Jose Salvador Alvarenga set out on a routine fishing trip off the coast of Mexico, accompanied by his young crewmate, Ezequiel Cordoba. What was meant to be a 2-day journey soon turned into a harrowing ordeal, when a fierce storm struck, altering their course and leaving them at the mercy of the open sea. For months, Alvarenga and Cordoba battled against the elements, their small boat battered by wind and wave. Sadly, after 4 months into their odyssey, Cordoba succumbed to exhaustion and dehydration, leaving Alvarenga alone to confront the terrifyingly open Pacific. He would speak to the corpse for fear of going mad from solitude. He eventually threw the body overboard. Despite his grief and despair, Alvarenga held on to the will to live, bolstered by a deep-rooted fear instilled in his mother that those who take their own lives are banned from heaven. With his faith and conviction driving him forward, he clung to life amidst the endless expanse of sea and sky, surviving on raw fish, birds, and turtles caught with his bare hands. His troubles only intensified as time went on. With dwindling supplies and no relief in sight, Alvarenga resorted to drinking his own urine to quench his thirst during the drought that lasted for 3 agonizing months. And despite all this, his conviction never wavered. On January 30, 2014, after an astonishing 430 days at sea, his drifting boat finally washed ashore on a remote atoll in the Marshall Islands. He found refuge in a beach house owned by a local couple. He had journeyed a total of 6,000 miles. And there you have it, 4 incredible tales of real-life castaways that really put life into perspective. Makes you think, how would you do in these situations? How determined would you be to stay alive at any cost? Are you strong enough? History is perhaps the greatest resource, and the lessons learned by these people are more valuable than anything they can teach us at school.